Thanks very much for joining us and for choosing WBZ as your go-to source for news and information about the 2026 elections. And those of you who follow this segment have already met Republican candidates for Governor Mike Keneally and Brian Shortsleeve. Today, we're talking with a new entrant in that race, Mike Minogue, a graduate of West Point, former U.S. Army officer who recently concluded nearly 2 decades as CEO of Biomed, a medical device company in Danvers. Mike, welcome to the race and to WBZ.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Good to have you here. So there are already 2 intelligent, accomplished Republicans in this race. What did you see lacking in them that compelled you to jump in?
Well, I think the other 2 are nice people, and they are trying to also serve a purpose, so that's great. I respect that. I'm the outsider, so I think if you look at my background in the military, going to West Point, if you look at my background in business with Abiomed and building one of the world's best premier cardiac companies in Massachusetts, and dealing with the government and dealing with healthcare, and if you look at the work my wife and I do for nonprofits, with education and for veterans and healthcare, I think we're a new kind of formula, and I will be a new kind of candidate and governor because I bring proven experience in the military, in business, but also in the nonprofit world.
Well, Shortsleeve's a former Marine. Both he and Keneally have experience in the business world, have been successful. I'm not sure I get what the difference is.
Sure. So there's business where you are private equity and you invest in people like me. And so I was a public company CEO for 19 years. And that means that I developed and dealt with the government. I hired people. I made decisions on budgets. I got to profitability. Abiomed grew from 25 million to 1.25 billion. We are the global standard of care. I have manufacturing in Massachusetts. I've hired thousands of jobs in the country. I've worked with people all over the world in healthcare. And I created a culture that adapts and executes and leads manage. And it also put patients first. And so by being the leader, by being accountable, by sweating the details and the payroll, I think I bring a certain level of ownership and also a certain level of leadership that the other 2 haven't had directly.
All right. Well, let's get into some issues. Both Keneally and Shortsleeve have said they're pro-choice. Are you?
So I think that the topic of abortion is a very sensitive issue. I wish it wasn't a political issue with ping pong, because whoever finds himself in a situation for a decision like that, we have to have compassion. We have to understand what they're going through. We want to give them alternatives, because that's what we want to do as a group of people, as a citizen. And I am Catholic, and much like other Catholics, I am pro-life. But I also know what the law is. The law is that abortion is the law. The role of the governor is to uphold the law. But it doesn't mean that I can't care about the moms and care about the babies. And I've spent my military career trying to help people, and I spent my healthcare career helping to save lives of both adults and also babies. So I will follow the law, and I will focus on things that most people are worried about: jobs, healthcare, and the economy.
Well, and we're going to be talking about at least some of those issues in our next segment. But briefly, before we take our break, as you well know, the abortion issue is complex. For instance, Governor Healy has taken a stand that we're going to continue to make the morning after pill available in this state, no matter what the feds might do. Would you take the same position as governor?
I would follow the law. So if the law is, whatever the case is, that's the law. That's what the governor's supposed to do. You don't get to pick and choose. But I also think that I'm being authentic. It would be easy for me to say something else, but I am Catholic, and I want to do what's right, but I'm also going to be a governor that upholds the law.
Mike, obviously one of the biggest issues around these days is immigration law, enforcement of immigration law. On your website, you posted a list of leadership principles. One of those was be kind and respectful to all. When you see a high school student from Milford on his way to volleyball practice arrested and thrown into a detention center for a week because of an expired visa, or that tough student who was snatched off the street and jailed illegally for 3 months because she wrote a pro-Palestinian op-ed, do those incidents violate your principles?
So I think, again, the most important thing that we have to have as a culture and as a leader is to be able to prioritize and make common sense decisions. And those two examples, we didn't execute well, or the government didn't execute well. I think what we're focused on is people that are here that have crossed the border that are either gang members, drug dealers, terrorists, or bringing in drugs. Because if you think of the impact that it's had in Massachusetts, beyond just the $4 billion and growing, it has had problems with our housing. It's had problems with our emergency rooms and getting treated. We've had over 100,000 people in our emergency rooms for drug overdoses. We've had over 20,000 die a year of drug overdoses. So fentanyl and crime is something that the governor has to do so that they can uphold the law, but also keep our citizens safe. That should be the focus. That would be my priority. Massachusetts is a place that is great. It's got so much opportunity, but at the basic level, we have to keep people safe. We have to make sure we make decisions that uphold the law. And what I would do as the governor is I would try to be compassionate, and I would also try to make sure that it didn't impact our veterans, our citizens, and put them at the back of the line. We have to be very careful about the resource and the prioritization, but certainly on those, I think that's why you want to have common sense, you want to step in, and we don't want to just release gang members and criminals out there, because that puts them back into the community, that other people can be swept up with them, and we want to avoid that as well. So let's work on the worst people first. It's common sense, as you say. Get these criminals out of our state.
Well, another principle that you listed, quote, put America and Massachusetts before party politics.
Correct.
Can you give me a couple of quick examples of how you'd be doing that right now if you were governor?
Sure. So when I graduated West Point, I swore an oath to the Constitution. I did not swear an oath to a party. I believe in America. I want the president to do well from any party. This governor in the future will have another potential party, and we don't want to antagonize the federal government. But what I would do different is I would focus on the veterans. I would focus on helping out things that solve problems and solutions. Healthcare, I would focus on making sure people get access to it. I wouldn't basically restrict one point or the other on immigration or healthcare or even on the budget, because that's what the party says. And there's a lot of reform and common sense things that can happen in healthcare, as well as things for veterans. But relative to making a decision in business, that's what you do. You never in business take two decisions, one red, one blue. You look at all of the options, you brainstorm them, and then what you come up with is a purple solution on things that are not really party politics. It's about results. And what makes me different, John, is I'm not running on problems. I'm not campaigning on them. I want to get into office to solve them, and that's why I'll be a different kind of governor.
So you must be appalled watching the argument that's precipitating this government shutdown, right? Where the Democrats are saying, wait a minute, you're going to send people's health care premiums sky high, and the Republicans are saying, no, we got to get rid of waste.
Yeah,
where do you come down on that?
Yeah, that's a great example, because I think most people are frustrated. This government shutdown thing's been going on for a decade and battling with the budget.
Yeah.
As a CEO, I had to do a budget every year. I got audited every year. And we have to find ways to get back to the basics of what's going on in healthcare is how do we solve it instead of having a government shutdown. And that debate is going on. But we want everyone to get health care. We also want to understand what other requirements and what other costs are associated with giving health care to illegal immigrants. And I think you have to balance the compassion, and you also have to prioritize what we're going to do as a state.
Well, look, we barely scratched the surface here. We'll look forward to having you back. We'll look forward to hosting a debate between you and the other candidates prior to the Republican primary. And then, of course, if you're the nominee, look forward to having you debating the incumbent in the fall of next year. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, John.
And good luck to you.
Thank you.
Mike Minogue, Republican candidate for governor.